Welcome to Faithful Fridays, a podcast for women who strive to please God through obedience to His Word. I'm your host, Bobby Oliveira, and this is a place where pleasing God is the goal, no matter where you're at in life. Let me ask you something. When you think about God, what's the very first thing that comes to mind? Is it love? Is it grace? Maybe is it help? Or do you see Him as creator? Because before God ever showed us His mercy, He showed us His power. And that's not by accident. Because believe it or not, God didn't start with us. He started with Himself. Have you ever heard the saying, the world doesn't revolve around you? I have. And believe it or not, that's the Bible in a nutshell. Because really, it doesn't revolve around us. But it does revolve around God, who He is and what He wants. Before we ever show up and before we even get a foot on this earth, God had already set the stage. He'd already shown His power and He's already revealed who He is. And that changes everything, especially how we see God. Because suddenly we are not the center of the story. He is. And if we don't understand God as creator first, then we're going to misunderstand everything else about Him. Now, why do I say that? I say that because the way God reveals Himself first, with His power, His order, and His majesty, that is the foundation for everything else that we see in the Bible. So, why is it important for us to understand God as creator then? Well, because how we see God determines how we serve Him. And if we don't understand who He truly is, we'll start serving a version of Him that we've created in our own minds. But God doesn't ask us to serve the version that we are comfortable with. He calls us to know Him as He reveals Himself. And that's why it matters to know the names of God. Because we can't truly love God, or serve Him for that matter, properly anyway, if we don't first understand who He is. Let's go to the beginning. In Genesis 1:1 it says, "In the beginning God created the heaven and the earth." Now, I'm pretty sure just about at least 80% of people can quote that verse verbatim, word for word, without even looking at it. But when you really look at that verse and you study it, the word God right there is the Hebrew word for Elohim. And this is the name that lays the foundation for how we understand God. Elohim comes from a root that means strength, power, and might. And this is God being introduced, not as comfort, but as authority. Not as helper, but as creator. And something else that I've learned that you may not know, so I'm going to tell you. Elohim is plural in the Hebrew language. Now, Hebrew plural works differently than English plural, because in the English plural, we have an S or an ES at the end of the words. Elohim does not have an S or an ES. It's more about emphasis. Elohim is plural to show greatness, majesty, and power. But every time Scripture uses it for God, it uses singular action, meaning God is not divided and God is not many. He is one, fully complete, fully powerful, and fully in control. And this isn't just something that we see one time in the beginning. God being creator is seen all throughout Scripture. Psalms 33:6 says, "By the word of the Lord were the heavens made." He didn't just create, he spoke and it was. Nehemiah 9:6 says, "Thou hast made heaven, and thou preservedst them all." Not only did he make everything, he's the reason everything is still here. Isaiah chapter 40 and verse 28 says, "The everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth." He didn't just create and step away. He's still here. He remains. And Colossians 1 and 16 and 17 says, "By him all things consist." Everything. All things is everything. And everything is being held together by God. So when we say that God is creator, we're not talking about something that he did one time. We're talking about who he is right now. And this is where we have to be careful, because a lot of times we're introduced to God based on what he can do for us, how he can help, how he can fix things, how he can provide for us. And while those things are absolutely true, that's not where God starts. He starts with who he is. And the very first thing he shows us is this: he is creator. Because if he didn't create everything, we wouldn't be here at all. Not where would we be, we just wouldn't be. In Psalm 100 and verse 3, it says, "It is he that hath made us." Now, it's one thing to say that God made me. It's another to accept God has authority over me. So whenever we say that God is Elohim, we're not just saying that he created everything. We're saying that everything belongs to him, including us. And when that settles in, it changes how we see him. And it changes how we respond to him. Because now we're not living like we're our own. We're living like we were created on purpose, by him, and for him. That's all I have for the name Elohim. And I hope and pray that I've been of some help to you in understanding God as creator, being fully powerful, fully in control. Everything else really does flow from that truth. But more importantly, understanding that it's always been about him and never about us. And Lord willing, I'll be back faithfully next Friday with the next name of God, which is Yahweh, meaning the Lord, the self-existing one. So we can see God's self-existent nature and why he is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. Until then, remember, stay in the word, stay faithful.